Wow, what a debate last night. That was fascinating. Mike Pence actually made Donald Trump disappear. I mean, the great vanishing Donald, 6 different times, at least. Well, it must have been 7 at least, because it was, Tim Kaine came right out and said, hey, 6 times you've refused to defend your candidate. What's the deal here? What's going on? So anyhow, I'll share some clips here with you of what we got out of the debate last night. Here's my clip sheet. And, get your thoughts on it. I was on CNN this morning with Carol Costello, who she had me and Ben Ferguson on. He's a right-wing talk show host who I've debated before on CNN, actually. And she was trying to play moderator as Ben and I were interrupting each other, which was kind of funny, meta to last night. But people are criticizing Tim Kaine for interrupting Mike Pence, but when somebody's lying, I think it's important to interrupt them. And Mike Pence, the thing about Mike Pence is he's a very facile liar. He's a very smooth liar. He can say things that he knows aren't true, he knows aren't true, and say them with absolute and utter conviction. Look right at you, right at the camera, and with this, oh, I'm so concerned about the future of our women in Indiana that we just have to, if a woman has a miscarriage, we have to put her in jail. That actually happened in Indiana. A woman had a miscarriage and went to jail. And, because maybe she caused it herself, right? Maybe it was a self-induced abortion. It turns out it wasn't, or maybe it was. I mean, who knows? But, we covered this story a year or so ago when it happened. But, I mean, that's not something he said last night, but man, it was like, I was just astonished. And I thought Tim Kaine did an absolutely marvelous job of standing up for, truth, justice, and the American way. And, well, here, let's just go through some of these clips. We'll just go through them in order. Clip number 1, Danielle. This is Tim Kaine talking about how, after he was, Carol Costello said, the polls show that 65% of Americans don't trust Donald Trump, 60% of Americans don't trust Hillary Clinton. What do you say to that? Here's his response.
I'll just say this. We trust Hillary Clinton, my wife and I, and we trust her with the most important thing in our life. We have a son deployed overseas in the Marine Corps right now. We trust Hillary Clinton as president and commander-in-chief, but the thought of Donald Trump as commander-in-chief scares us to death.
Scares us to death, indeed. And I think, legitimately so. Here is Tim Kaine speaking of Hillary Clinton's record as Secretary of State.
Let me tell you this. When Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State, Governor Pence, do you know that Osama bin Laden was alive?
Yes.
Do you know that we had 175,000 troops deployed in the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan? Do you know that Iran was racing toward a nuclear weapon and Russia was expanding its stockpile? Under Secretary Clinton's leadership, she was part of the national team, public safety team, after and revived the dormant hunt against bin Laden and wiped him off the face of the earth. She worked to deal with the Russians to reduce their chemical weapons stockpile. She worked a tough negotiation with nations around the world to eliminate the Iranian nuclear weapons program without firing a shot.
Eliminate the Iranian nuclear weapons
Absolutely,
program.
without firing a shot. And instead of 175,000 American troops deployed overseas, we now have 15,000.
Right.
There you go. And then it got real weird. Elaine Quijano, who I think, was doing a pretty good job. I know, it's there's a number of people criticizing her, principally for interrupting them when they really were going along. They got into a real rumble, and I do think that probably she should have just stood back for a minute or two and let them play it out. But she kept saying, well, let's go on. But the part of Elaine Quijano's questions that just shocked me was when she quoted a right-wing think tank funded by the Peterson Institute, if my research on the internet is correct, which is suggesting that, Social Security's in trouble, it's going to go away, it's 26 years, it's all going to, which, by the way, is, hysteria that's, not true. I mean, the Social Security Trust Fund, she implied that it will be out of money in 26 years, the trust fund. Well, that's what it was designed for. Right? The trust fund was designed in 1982 by Ronald Reagan. The trust fund was designed to deal with the retirement of the boomers. Right? There's this giant rabbit going through the python, and so they double taxed the boomer generation. They said, you guys are going to not only pay for the retirement of your parents, but for the retirement of yourself, and we're going to save this money up over a 20-year period, 30-year period now, and when the boomers retire, the money will be there. And when the boomers are all dead in another 30, 40 years, there's no need for the trust fund because it'll go back to pay as you go. But that's the reality. You can go back and read the discussions out of the Greenspan Moynihan Commission or what Reagan said. But, you know, that they want to scare the hell out of you about Social Security so that we will be incentivized to privatize Social Security and give that $2.5 trillion in the Social Security Trust Fund and the trillions of dollars every year that moves through Social Security, or I'm not sure if it's trillions with a plural, but a lot of money, to hand that money over to Wall Street. I mean, this is just a naked grab. And Elaine Quijano apparently did not know that, or her producers are right-wingers or whatever, but she came up with this insane question. Here it is.
According to the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, neither of your dollar gross national debt. In fact, your plans would add even more to it. Both of you were governors who balanced state budgets. Are you concerned that adding more to the debt could be disastrous for the country?
Excuse me, that was the debt question. I'll get to the Social Security question in just a second. But on the debt question, it's the same thing. The national debt is not a problem. The federal government is having no problem selling treasuries and bonds. They're the most sought-after product in the world. Every time they sell them, they instantly go. The interest rate is so low. They don't, you know, when the interest rates go up, that means they're having problems selling. This is not an issue. I mean, it's literally not an issue. So here, then, if we jump down to number 7 here, Danielle, clip number 7, this is Elaine Quijano again putting forth another myth from Peterson et al. From the Wall Street bunch and the trust fund babies and whatnot. Here she is.
On the issue of Social Security, in 18 years, when the Social Security trust funds run out of money, you'll be 76. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates your benefits could be cut by as much as $7,500 per year. What would your administration do to prevent this cut?
Right. Well, you know, it's not, I mean, yes, we have to strengthen the Social Security system, but it's not a big deal. Right now, if you earn over $118,000 a year, you don't pay any more Social Security taxes. Why is that? Well, it's because, you know, the rich people and their lobbyists don't want to pay Social Security taxes. They, you know, as Elaine, as for little people. And sure enough, if you earn $7,000 a year, I mean, you're way below the poverty line, $8,000, $10,000 a year, every single penny of your income has a Social Security tax attached to it. You are paying federal taxes. But if you make over $118,000 a year, you don't pay that anymore. Isn't that sweet?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And that was essentially Tim Kaine's argument, is just, you know, raise the cap. It's a very, very simple fix, but the Republicans will never go for it because they want to destroy Social Security.